thanks for listening. Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to We Say Things, episode 28, sponsored by Nobody SUNSfan here with the great Cinderman. How are you, friend?
Cinderman. I'm good.
Cinderman.
I'm more awake today than the other days. That's because I went to bed earlier.
Wow, it's amazing what that'll do
There
for
was
your body.
There was a correlation, yeah. But still, it's probably also out of the last many days, it might be the day I slept the most and I was still tired. But it was better, even though it's early. So
I'm glad you're rested because we're gonna
My
need
life
your
is
energy.
very hard. Yeah,
We need
I'm pumped. I'm pumped today.
Cinderin energy for sure.
Pumped
Remember,
to
guys,
talk about fucking Popeyes chicken sandwich. Sorry for
hey,
the spoiler.
no
All right.
spoilers. For God's sake, Cinderin. That's the most important part of the podcast. But first, of course, as usual, guys, remember you can find the podcast basically every single Tuesday unless something big comes up for either one of us. So far, it's only been me. Cinderin's just been at home, no lifing for the past 6 months that we've been doing this podcast. He hasn't missed one yet. Incredible. So let's get started, Cinderin, with a little... I don't know if this is an announcement. This is more for people that are watching live and for people that watch within the first 10 hours that we release this podcast. We today will be doing a Reddit AMA at 11 a.m. PST 20 CET. Isn't that right,
Yes,
Cinderella?
That is correct. That would be in 9.5 hours from now.
Why would you say that?
From now, if you're watching live.
You know that most people will not be watching or listening live, so just stick to the time zones, okay?
But then
you guys can go on timebuddy.com.
Yeah, but we already told them that. It's just a little bit of extra info, a little bit of a bonus.
I will say, if something crazy happens where we know that, like if Outlander's patch somehow comes out today, we will not be doing a Reddit AMA. But barring anything crazy, we thought it would be fun to kind of... I mean, we haven't really... Let's be honest. You and I have not done a great job at advertising this podcast, despite the numbers being very good. Been actually very pleased overall, despite, like I said, us not doing jack shit. But Reddit is probably a little bit of an untapped resource, and I thought it would be fun to do. I've been wanting to do an AMA for years, actually.
You've never done one?
I'm trying to remember. If I have, it might have been like the first, like when Dota Cinema first was a thing. So I think
I've done one once.
Really? Wow, look at you.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I think so. But now you're making me doubt it too. I think I did one a long time ago.
That was very memorable that neither of us remember it at this point. But it should be fun. I'll be answering things all day as I work. I'm going to have fun with that one. I don't know about you, Cinderin, because you're probably going to sleep like 5 hours after, but I'll be answering.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
It's good.
So,
there's going to be plenty of questions then. So
yeah, should be fun.
Hopefully.
So be there or be square. And again, before we get to the Dota 2 section, guys, Cinderin already spoiled it, but there's this chicken sandwich at Popeyes. Do you know anything about this before I get started? Have you heard the hype?
I don't know. Do you not want to do any reviews today or?
Fuck. All right, let's do some reviews. Let's tease the chicken sandwich
I've got
more
one
than it's been teased.
I've got one here. This one is from SUNSfan from the United States of America. I love Popeye's chicken sandwich. 5 stars. Thank you.
How do you know? I haven't said whether I like it or not, Cinderin.
I don't know, man. You seem like the kind of guy that would love chicken.
I mean, so you guys can't see this, but the outline that we have, it says general news or rant. And that's where I put this beginning section. He doesn't know which one it's going to be, so he's assuming I liked it. Considering how negative I am, I'm actually quite pleased by that, Cinder. Thank you.
I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what the... Yeah, whatever.
All right, let's do the reviews first. Take half, I'll do the other.
Okay, I'll start from the top.
Okay.
Decent, 5 stars. By Hey There, Muscle Yarm. What's Yarm?
Muscle, Y-arm. I have no idea. He misspelled his name.
Oh, Hey There, Muscly Arm.
Muscly Arm. Damn it. Made us both look like idiots. Just read the review.
Yarm. Great way to stay up to date with the crazy world that is Dota 2. Love the playful banter. It's not banter. I genuinely hate him. Alcohol suggestion for SUNSfan. As Cinderin is Danish, I thought he might have considered mead as it has a history in Denmark and is usually, though not always, fairly sweet. This is very... Okay, this is not part of the... Okay, I'll finish it, whatever. Episode suggestion. Have other famous Counter-Strike pros come on and talk about SUNSfan's illustrious career from their perspective and see how it shaped the players they are today and the scene as a whole. Keep up the great work. Love the show. Okay.
That's my boy.
Yeah. Pretty sure you had a huge impact on the NA non-existent Counter-Strike scene at the time. Yes, mead I actually didn't mention because it's surprisingly not that common to have in Denmark, but it is really good. Mead is basically honey. Do you like honey?
Yes.
It's honey liquor, and it's very good when it's good. It's like
Honey
it's-
liquor.
It's very sweet and nice. So that was a great suggestion for you if you want to try that at some point. Okay.
I won't, but thank
5
you.
stars for 2 stars. That's right. You. Oh, that's very wholesome.
Can you
Sunstrike
again,
City.
Cinderin? Can you again just a little bit away from your microphone? I'd really appreciate it.
Hang on. Give me a second.
You hide your face on this microphone every time we do this.
Okay. We're fine. Yes.
You're basically deep throating your mic every week. Go ahead.
You love it. Okay.
That does.
5 stars for 2 stars. That's right. You. By Sunstrike City from the USA. You are both stars in the light of the ears of the beholder, of the human, of the audience, which is us. Thank you.
Very deep. Thank you. Then we also have a review from Yummy Bear from the Philippines. Kept me sane for 5 stars. The craziness kept me sane. Living alone every weekdays. I listen to the podcast to keep myself sane. Nice laughs. You mofos are entertaining as hell. Thank you, friend. Really appreciate it. And the last review.
Dare you call us mofos? You don't even know us.
Demontgo from the United States of America. The okayest horse podcast. 5 stars. In this new and awkward take on the Katy Perry left shark and right shark meme, which, by the way, I don't understand that reference at all. But
I have no idea what's going on.
I don't know anything about pop culture. Left horse and right horse are voiced by a former honey badger and a centaur fetishist. Episodes are characterized by running jokes and left horse's misinformed diatribes regarding bad films and non-equine sports. Very nice. But I most look forward to Cinnabon's monotone and verbose monologues because they put me to sleep faster than scotch and Ambien cocktail. However you feel about this pair of delinquents, the most important thing to remember is that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. That's pretty true.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you,
That's
Demontgo.
probably the only true thing he said in that entire review. All right. Can I talk about the chicken sandwich yet?
Yeah, do it.
All right, but before I get started, I do actually need to know the real answer. Have you ever even heard of this?
Popeyes,
or just the chicken sandwich thing that's going on right now in the US?
I've heard of Popeyes, and I know what a chicken sandwich is. I don't know.
Thanks for joining us, Cinder. And until next time.
Okay.
Okay, so
Dude,
I
who
wish
cares?
This is actually a big deal, and I know you don't think
sorry.
it is. For some reason, this chicken sandwich has taken the entire nation by storm. I forget actually how it actually started. Apparently, I don't even think it was Popeyes that made it popular initially. It was like Chick-fil-A or KFC made fun of them or something. I don't know the beginning of the story. I won't pretend to. But the important thing to understand,
how can I have an
Cinderin,
opinion about this if you don't give me the right background? I
Just
need the lore.
listen.
I don't
the
get
lore
it.
actually, believe it or not, for once is not very important, just like Dota 2 in general. So,
Okay.
this chicken sandwich was ridiculously popular. People were standing in line for 5 to 6 hours trying to get this chicken sandwich at this very generic fast food chicken place, right?
Popeyes chicken sandwich.
Popeyes is not really. We did our tier list. It was like average for me. It's not anything special. It's not garbage. It's not great. It's whatever. Okay, but people were obsessed with this chicken sandwich, and I've been hearing about it for like a month. And then they ran out of chicken for like 3 or 4 weeks, and KFC and Chick-fil-A started making fun of them, like, "Oh, we'd never run out of chicken." But lo and behold, Cinder, they came back with this chicken sandwich, and it's taken the nation by storm yet again. And after about 2 to 3 months of hearing about this, by the way, I'd never had this sandwich. I know it's tough to believe because I'm not a big chicken sandwich guy in general. I told you how much I hate Chick-fil-A, and it's not just because of the political shit behind that restaurant and whatnot. I'm just not a fan of chicken sandwiches. It's whatever. I'd just rather have a burger. I finally went to get this chicken sandwich. I had to wait for 35 minutes in the drive-thru in my car. You don't understand.
fucking NA, man. It's not even fast food anymore. You could have gone to a restaurant.
I understand that, but it's...
Oh, my favorite fast food is the Popeyes chicken sandwich. I waited in queue for it for 2 hours.
Okay, you don't seem to understand how hardcore this is. You know, apparently this was either Chicago or New York. I don't know when this was. Might have been a couple of weeks ago. Some guy cut in line to get like one of the last chicken sandwiches, and guess what happened?
Mhm.
He literally got stabbed to death. This is real. People want their fucking chicken sandwiches at Popeyes, okay? So I come in.
Did the guy who stabbed him get the sandwich?
I don't know the entire lore behind that story. That one would have been more interesting to understand the full lore behind. But regardless, Cinderin, I went in, again, not a big chicken sandwich fan. You have to wait for freaking 30 minutes minimum. And I got lucky, apparently. It's sold out in a lot of places. And I had it, kind of low expectations. It was fucking good. It was really good. I was shocked.
Okay. So
really good.
You try to describe it, because when Europeans hear the word sandwich, we think about sandwich. And when I go to the US and I have a sandwich, it's not a sandwich. Like you literally can take you just take a slab of chicken and you put it between two sugary buns and you call it a sandwich.
Yes.
And technically that is a sandwich, but it's extremely basic and there's like not much to it.
What do you consider that then? Like a chicken burger?
The Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich or whatever. I don't know, man. Like, how can you just put a piece of meat between two sweet breads and that's it? Without any, like, maybe dressing or lettuce or tomatoes or pickles or, like something.
There's some sort of sauce and there's pickles. Okay. And you know how much I'm a sauce guy, right? Like, I can't, if it's just chicken, I'm not going to be interested. I got to put something on. That's actually one of the reasons I realized, because I went there recently to Chick-fil-A just to try it again. I think one of the main reasons I don't like it is because I don't like their sauce at all. I think it's garbage.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you're right. I mean, I think it's technically like a chicken burger, but it doesn't sound good marketing wise to say chicken burger. So it's chicken sandwich,
Okay, but
right.
even it's the same at least in Denmark too. If you get a burger, unless it's like one of the really easy fast food burgers, like a cheeseburger or whatever at McDonald's or something like that, a burger also kind of is expected to have some sort of lettuce or tomato or
why
pickles or whatever.
That doesn't that doesn't make
that's
a burger.
How our burgers and sandwiches have more ingredients. That's just how it is. Like, I was surprised when I went to the US to see what you consider a sandwich, because the norm in the US when you order a sandwich is that it has meat, maybe a little sauce, and maybe pickles, and that's it. Like, that's the really simple sandwich version.
It could have literally nothing but meat and two buns, and that's a burger.
Yeah, that you would never get that here. Like, the most basic burger you can get, I guess technically, I think the most basic burger I can think of is a McDonald's hamburger, which has meat, pickles, ketchup, and is there some mustard in? I don't think so. Ketchup, right? Those things. That is the number one most basic thing you can get here. And we don't like this whole sandwich concept. The type of buns you guys have, as when you get a sandwich. No, for example, when you get a sandwich in Denmark, right? A sandwich is, you generally get it with either, how do you call that? What do you call bread that has higher fiber? We call it like, the
wheat?
Direct translation would be rough bread, but that's not what you would call it.
I don't know what high fiber would constitute as. You're talking about white bread, like sliced bread? Wheat
so
bread?
There's like, yeah, but the bread isn't like that. Oh man, this could be
sourdough bread, rye bread, bread
it's not rye bread. Although it could have rye in it. Okay. Anyway, sandwiches in Denmark are bigger. A sandwich is like...
They're bigger.
It's like the best... Okay, you know what? I can explain it in NA terms. A sandwich in Denmark is what you get at Subway. That's what a sandwich looks like in shape. Okay. It's what it looks like in shape, and it's the type of bread you get for a sandwich. So that's the closest.
So you never have a sandwich that's two white pieces of bread, like sliced bread. You would never make a sandwich like that?
You can make that at home. Of course, you can buy toast or sandwich bread in the store. Okay. Sandwich bread would literally be that bread. But if you go to a sandwich place to order a sandwich, you would get it in those like bigger breads. And generally, you get at least 5 ingredients. Like, there will always be some sort of veggies. If you want, there will be meat. If you want, there could be cheese, this kind of stuff. So kind of like a Subway footlong or whatever. But those, like the chicken sandwich concept or whatever, we just don't have it. So it was very different for me to try that.
Maybe you guys need to learn to evolve to better things.
When I was at the summit, I think we had Chick-fil-A a couple of times. And it's just so basic, this chicken sandwich. It's literally just chicken. And the type of dough, this bread you have it in, I've never had that before anywhere else.
I mean, I will agree with you on Chick-fil-A. Not a fan. I think you would like the Popeyes chicken sandwich, Cinderella.
Oh, there's a great chance I would like it. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just
I just talk shit
it's
about
very
this
different.
sandwich and the way that you guys make sandwiches in your entire country for the past 10 minutes.
I'm not.
But I would like
you
to
mean?
eat it. That's what
Damn,
you just
if
said.
this is talking shit, you're soft, man.
Well, that's what she said, unfortunately.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
moving on to our actual topics of discussion, Cinder,
Great
unless you want
sandwich.
to keep talking about
Very
chicken
good.
sandwiches.
No, I think we got enough
I'm
Popeyes
actually
for 5
really
episodes
hungry
now,
right
at least.
now. Thank you. Popeyes, we're looking for sponsorship. Appreciate it. Did you watch any of the Summit 11 Minor?
Yes, I did.
Really?
I watched some of it. I watched some. I didn't
That's-
watch that much, but I definitely watched some of the games.
Tell me about it,
think-
big boy.
The big storylines, NIP bombed out of group. I think as a team and an org that has had a history in the last year of making majors, of getting far in minors, that has to be a very big disappointment. And not only did they not make it out of groups, they honestly didn't really look good. In addition, like sometimes you can play well and still just be bested by better teams. They didn't look good in their games. I don't think so. So rough showing for them. Outside of that, great showing from IG. They obviously won the whole thing. Let's preface that. They didn't lose a single game that's
No,
wrong.
they did.
They lost one game in the playoffs. They lost one game to Hellraisers. Then they 2-0'd Chaos and 3-0'd Chaos. So they just completely had their number. And Chaos obviously getting second. I think they should be all right with that. Obviously, they would have hoped to win, but they looked, for the most part, pretty good. They just got destroyed by Invictus, but outside of that, they were better than every other team.
MSS also predicted that the finals would be a 3-0, but unfortunately he was the 0 in
it was the other way.
encounter. But so from what you saw, is everybody just ready for the next patch? Is that how pros feel right now?
I mean, there's still some flavor, I would say, but for the most part, the top tier is very defined in draft. It's not particularly exciting. It's like there's the Chen always. Gyro and Void are the best carries. Shadow Demon is one of the best supports. People are playing a Baden, Legion Commander. There's a lot of it that's just kind of solid right now. But as always, when you go into the major, there will be surprises. There always is. People love saying that the patch is stale and you can't be creative, and then when it comes to the biggest level of play, they've thought the extra step and they've been like, it's not possible that this hero is not solvable. And then they try to solve it and they will find a solution. If I had to put my finger on which hero I think will be the absolute most broken at the major, it'll be Chen. That is the hero I have the hardest time solving myself.
He's been banned pretty regularly though, right?
Yeah, he's getting banned a lot. A good Chen player is just incredible this patch, I think. So it will be auto ban against some teams, I think. But we'll see. Not every team is going to be at this major, of course. We don't have the 3 strong teams from Europe this time. So maybe the meta will be a little bit different because of that. But yeah.
Okay. Next topic of discussion. I wouldn't constitute this as big news. I just found it very interesting. I thought it would be fun to talk about. So this was actually, I think, a day after our last podcast. So it's a little bit of oldish news. Hellraisers came out with an announcement. I'm going to read it quote for quote. This is from Alex Magician Slabuchin. Did I say that right? The CEO of Hellraisers.
Slabuchin?
Slabuchin.
I think. I think so.
Pulse. Okay. Dear friends, we regret to inform you that Aloha Dance refused to practice with the team so close to such an important minor for us, Dota Summit 11. This put us at risk This put at risk not only our form, but Hellraiser's participation in the tournament in general. We consider this kind of attitude highly unprofessional and unacceptable for Hellraiser's tag, which is why we inform you that as of today, Aloha Dance is benched and transfer listed. We're still going to the Summit 11, obviously, since they just played, and we'll soon announce the 5th player. I don't know if I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever seen this before, from Dota specifically, at least. An announcement kind of blasting a player. Usually everyone takes the PR road, I find this very fresh because I'm so tired of everyone tiptoeing, But players can be pieces of shit too. Everyone can be a piece of shit. So if they did something stupid, call them out. What do you think about this?
I'm trying to think of a different situation where something similar has happened. I think that's maybe why you haven't seen a player put on blast like this, because who doesn't want to show up for practice for the tournament they just qualified
I
for?
can tell you.
Oh, that has happened before?
All right. So this is just from, I mean, I think this is even somewhat common knowledge, but
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Demon has done this several times in his career where he'll literally go work out instead of showing up to practice or something. I mean, he's been kicked from so many teams.
Before tournaments.
I don't remember
I mean,
the
I don't
time
know.
frame.
I can't confirm or what's the other word?
Deny.
Deny, right? Yeah, sorry.
So this is just from what I've heard. I don't know the specifics. I'm not even. It might not even be 100% true. I don't know. This is just. I know that there's a general feeling that this has happened several times, not only to him but other players as well. But it's never really been like an organization suspending a player essentially or whatever this is. I mean, this is basically kicking him, right?
Yeah, it
He's
is.
not going to stay on the roster. So
I don't know if you refuse to play with your team before an important tournament and refuse to practice with them. What did you expect?
well, here's the other thing. Like,
So
there
it's not
might be-
about. We're not. Let's be clear here. We're not talking about whether this decision so close to a minor or whatever is. It's strictly about being so transparent with it. That's we're talking about here. That's what's unique.
Yes.
Right? Because I think we can both agree that if you stop showing up for practice before important tournaments, you're off the team. Like, what kind of an attitude is that to show to your teammates? Even if you end up going, nobody will want to play with you after. So it's not worth investing into, right? It's just a mess.
Well, we should also say we don't know what the other side of the story is technically. Like,
Sure.
if there was like a family death or something like that, that would, for me, be more than enough.
Of course, but then Hellraisers would absolutely not react like this.
Right. That's why you assume that they're in the right here, because it's kind of way out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Well, we haven't heard anything the other way. I mean, Aloha has been streaming since, so he might have talked about it, but I haven't heard any update. I haven't seen it written anywhere. But yeah, let's just, for the sake of the argument, let's not be like, let's just say what Hellraisers wrote is correct. Then I agree with the choice of not having the player play anymore. Because if you're a team, everybody is expected to put in the work and go for the practice. And if you are close to an important event for the org and an important event for the team and you just refuse to practice, that is just sends a really bad message to the team, and it breaks morale. It doesn't get people excited, and it doesn't get them excited for the future, and there's no reason to hold on to that. So that's fine. But yeah, we don't know the full story, so we can't say if that's everything. So then the question is if we think it's a good move to come forward like this. I personally, I'm not mad at it. If what they say is true, I think it's fine. Like, you shouldn't be able to just be a dick and not expect any consequences for it. And it's a way of protecting both themselves and future teams. The slightly weird thing about it, though, is that they transfer listed him. Because I think, if you feel like this player behavior is unacceptable, you shouldn't try to sell him, right? Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like you're passing you're kind of like passing the buck, right? It's like, this is unacceptable in any professional setting. They wrote, it's very unprofessional. By the way, if you guys want to buy this player, you can have him now.
I think it could have something to do with a contract. Maybe like what he did wasn't a breach of contract, so they can't just like null and void the rest of it. So it would be a waste, like literal waste of money if they just release him, So they want to get something out of him. And if nobody wants him, then Aloha Dance is not going to be on a team for a while, So it all depends on what's in that contract, and I have no idea. But the one thing I will say, the reason I find this very fresh, and it's not like I think players are pieces of garbage or anything. I think the pieces of garbage are, it's evenly distributed throughout all segments of life. Let's just say it that way. But the difference in Dota
more
is
politicians, but yeah,
very true. Some more than others, of course. But the point I'm trying to make is the fact that Dota, it feels like players are put on a pedestal because the entire scene is catered towards them, right? Everything else comes second, whether it be teams themselves, like the organizations, tournament organizers, casters, talent, content creators. Everything is second fiddle, third fiddle, fourth, whatever the case may be. Players are on top. Even when it comes to like Valve stuff, they're basically on the same level. So it's nice to see, a team sticking up for themselves for once. That's, again, I don't want to go into specifics when I owned a team, but there's been plenty of instances that I've heard of firsthand and through other people's accounts where they should have done something like that, but it would have been really bad PR because the players just have all the control. So it's nice to see that, we all just want a balance. It's definitely not balanced right now. This is not going to change anything because Hellraisers, they're not that big of a team. But
there was a good comment in chat right now. What if he didn't train if he was poached by Windstrike already? So there is the possibility that Aloha Dance has got a different team offer that he wants to go for, but by contract he can't join it yet or whatever, or they're working that out. And Hellraisers need to have a public explanation for why he's not playing, and that is why. It's still legit that he's not willing to show up for practice, right? Because now he's practicing with another team. So they say that, and then they list him for transfers to safeguard for the future that this other CIS team want to buy him out of his contract. Because then it's kind of a different situation if the player is already poached, right? Then it's different. Because then it makes sense that he's not showing up for practice if he's basically already in with another team. Then if he's just like, nah, fuck my team, I don't really want to play. You guys can go to the minor. I don't like you, or whatever the fuck you could imagine, right? That would be a very different situation. But then again,
definitely doesn't make him look good either way.
Maybe the transparency is there with the team internally. Like maybe he's told them, guys, I'm going to be playing for a different team. I'm going to be practicing with them. Good luck at the minor. Get somebody else. And then the org is like, okay, we have to make an announcement here because one of our core players isn't showing up. So yeah, maybe that's that.
So it's more of a it could be used as a negotiation to get more money out of whatever team is actually agreed. Like this is just all speculation, but that does make a lot of sense.
You don't know.
So.
It could be. It could be. Yeah.
So moving on, we got a couple matchmaking updates, Cinderin. The first one, solo players or parties who queue for both support and hard support will join the fast queue, but not earn extra fast queue games. Let's talk about that one. Have you noticed, how fast are you accumulating these fast queue tokens?
Well, I have a lot of them because I generally queue 4 and 5, right? And a lot of the time I will party queue with people that queue the core roles. So then we get the tokens. But yeah, as of late, I've been able to just queue by myself or with one other guy. And if I take the supports, we get fast queue games, but we don't earn them, like it says. Again, they're just trying. They're trying to help their algorithm by making more people play support. So they're just further incentivizing it, doing their best to make it better.
I didn't realize they got rid of the shards. Did you? Did you know that?
I didn't notice it, but yeah, they did. They got rid of that.
So yeah, they were giving shards for supports, both support roles. For Dota Plus, obviously. I'm kind of surprised they got rid of that because I feel like it's not like it's that much.
I think
to give
they
away.
Got rid of it because they couldn't track any meaningful increase. So then there's no reason to. If it doesn't do anything particularly meaningful for the system, there's no reason to.
Okay.
Basically.
If it didn't do its job, essentially, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't do its job. So why would you give a segment of the player base more shards than others if they're both just playing the game and it doesn't make a difference for whether people queue or not? I'm guessing that's why they removed.
I'm sure it increased, but probably not as much as they would have wanted then in that case.
Maybe something like that.
So the update that came today that piggybacks kind of off of this one, as a result of the recent changes to legal party combinations. What does that mean? Legal party combinations. Makes it sound so sinister. Just meaning like the amount of players in a party that would allow you to queue into other parties.
There's like they basically set some rules for what is a valid game. So you can't 4-man queue, for example. It doesn't exist. You can't queue as 4. If you queued as 3 before today, you couldn't meet a 5-man stack or solo players. So that means if you were 3-man queuing, you would have to generate a game with 3+2 versus 3+2. That was the only combination. Okay, and that's what they're addressing here. So
with these changes, we sometimes have scenarios where 3-person parties have a lot of trouble finding compatible players. This is because 3-person parties have recently been disallowed for matchmaking against 5 stacks or solos. Match against solos in particular had allowed for a much bigger spectrum of compatible matches, but we know that this is undesirable to some players. So with this update, we're allowing 2s and 3s on occasion to match with a 5 stack when the need is high. So again, it's just, wouldn't say it's a drastic change unless you exclusively play in that amount of parties. I feel like if it gets to a certain threshold, like you've been looking for like 8 minutes or something, then it probably, takes that into account, and you might have a better chance of finding those 5 parties or those solos.
Honestly, this is just from my own perspective, but I feel like this is the wrong way around. But maybe it's what people, like other people, just don't like this. I think the 5 stacks should only face 5 stacks. I think that is more important than putting solos in 3-party games. If you could make a game with 3+1+1 versus 3+2, I think that is a more fair game than 3+2 against 5. 5 stacks are teams that communicate well, that have a strategy, that know how they want to play. The 3+2, you don't know what +2 or +3 you're going to get. Maybe they're not compatible with you. Maybe you play completely differently.
Right.
So I feel like this is the wrong way around. If I solo queued and I was with a 3-man party and I was against 2 2-man parties in a solo, I would have zero problems with that, personally. But I don't know, like maybe in other brackets or maybe other Immortal players have this thing where if they queue solo, it's specifically to not play against bigger parties. So it's okay that you queue with one friend. So it's like 1+2+2 or 1+1+1+2 versus similar sized parties and not the threes. But from my experience in the bracket we play, I think it would be completely fine. So this is not solving, the way I see it, a high-end problem. But the weird thing about it is, isn't that where this problem exists, though? Isn't it the very high players that are struggling to find games with 3-man parties? Or is it also trickling down to a much bigger player base that struggle to find games because it needs to be exactly 3+2 versus exactly 3+2? Maybe that's why. But then again, I would still rather see solos get included than 5-man parties.
Well, let's talk about it from a more general standpoint. How do you feel right now about the matchmaking system? Do you think your opinion has improved since the last couple of weeks we've been kind of discussing with these, these changes they've been making every week or two? Or is it pretty much the same? Or is it maybe more negative? Because if you think about it,
I think it's pretty much the same.
The same. Okay. Because I don't know if you agree with this, but we did talk about this, I think, last week. The big patch is coming in like 2 weeks, right? We're 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
You would think that they would want this to be in a good enough state.
Yes.
At that point specifically. I think that's very important because there's going to be a shit ton more people. And maybe just having that many people coming back will fix everything to begin with, right? Because part of the issue is that it's just been lack of players, especially at certain positions. So do you think we're close enough, or is there still like a lot more to do in your mind?
I don't know. It's a really hard question to answer because for me, matchmaking has been in like these stages, right? Where there are certain weeks where I feel like it's really good, and then they change something and it can upset the balance by a lot. But my own experience is not really indicative of how the communities is, because again, I'm in the very low percentage of players, so changes are way more extreme for us generally when something changes in the algorithm, right? Anecdotally, for me, matchmaking got worse after they introduced fast queue. It was actually better before. And I don't know why, but it was flat out just better before. The games were better. And I think the reason is that the expectation of the algorithm for how fast a game needs to be formed was changed when they introduced fast queue, because they were like, it's called fast queue. You need to be able to find games fast. So my queue time has gone down, but so has the game quality. And I always care way more about the game quality because, I'm playing at the level that I am. So it's more important. I don't care queuing to 10 to 15 minutes if the games are good every time. That's
what do you
fine.
think about the suggestion of each person? Like, I don't know if this is actually that difficult to do. And I think it's maybe more something to do with consumers not finding it as intuitive, but having a bar that you set as the user.
The slider
yes. On how many minutes you're willing to wait for. Because you're right. Before they put in the fast queue, these are literally the best games of Dota I played in years. Very even.
It was very good.
Even in losses, I didn't feel that bad because, like, okay, we just got countered here or whatever happened. Everybody, it just felt better. The fast queue, wouldn't say it's dog shit, but it's definitely declined in quality for me, from my skill level.
Anecdotally, for example, for me, when we were close to fast queue coming out toward the last iteration of the previous algorithm, I would 2 or 3-man queue, and more or less every single game, every player in the game was top 500. A lot of the time they were top 200 or 250, all of them, every single player in the whole game. Now I will queue for 5 to 10 minutes, and there will be sub thousands, sub 2000s even. Yesterday I queued for 15 minutes and got a rank 4K and a Divine 5. And that means, and that was a dual queue, by the way. It was not a 3-man party queue. It was a dual queue. I queued with a high-ranked player, of course, so it will be harder. But again, with the old system, that would not have happened. This game would not have been generated. So, and I do believe we queued fast queue, and it took 15 minutes, and then it made that. Like,
sorry, I forget. There's no way right now to not do fast queue if you have tokens, right? Can you disable it? Because that would be another option. I would literally disable my fast queue right now to play solo. I don't mind waiting 10 minutes for a good game. I'm kind of in the same boat. So that could be a potential option. I don't know.
I love the slider. It's been suggested before. I think it was there in Han. I think somebody told me that.
Really? I don't remember that at all. Huh.
I think there was somebody said there was a slider like that in Han. I think I never played the game, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. But I think at some point they did.
We should play sometime.
Play Han.
Yeah.
Do they still have servers?
Yep.
In Thailand, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, what else? I don't know. Okay, so to give a bigger, like a broader question, answer to the question of if it's better or not. I personally, for me, ranked roles has not really delivered, but I know I'm in the minority, so I don't think I should be deciding which direction the game goes. I don't think ranked roles made matchmaking better in my bracket. I don't think so, because generally in the past, in the very high end of the scale, people are just good at the game. They can play the different roles. They're not all great at playing support. They're not all great at playing core. Like, my mid lane is not great, but if I get matched in a game with other good players, there's going to be one of them that wants to play mid. And if there isn't, it'll be that very unusual off game where literally 5 supports queue together and have to distribute roles amongst themselves. And that still doesn't mean they lose, because they can all play core. I mean, I can play mid. I'm just not as good as the really good mid players, but I can play to an ability that will allow the game to be playable. It's not like I will suddenly be a 4K if I'm put mid, right?
So I think the thing that
I think it's good for others. That's the thing, though. Like, the system in High Immortal, we didn't need ranked roles, in my opinion. But further down, I think it's super useful for keeping people just satisfied with the game. You're like queuing, like, I'm getting the role I queued for. I get to play the type of Dota that I want to, that I enjoy, that I am good at. I know how much value that has. But you just strictly asked what I thought from my perspective.
No,
and for me, it hasn't really got better. But
so
I think
again,
it's good for the game, and that's why it's important to do.
Basically confirm, yes, for everyone else, rank rules I think is unbelievably good. It's the best thing that's happened in a long time. I think what this conversation should lead to, it's not about whether there should be rank roles in high MMR or whatever. I think Valve should be dissuading players that are of really high ranks from playing in this exact same queue system to begin with. It should just have in-house type league that's built into Dota. That should just be a thing. I don't know how you would do it. We've had in-house leagues before. They're really good. Problem is, not a lot of players played in them because there's not that much incentive, because you're not actually gaining MMR or whatever the case may be. You have to use a third-party app. If you have that rank system in place and it's built into Dota, in-houses are definitely the way to go. And you don't have to worry about rank roles anymore at all, because everyone's playing whatever the fuck they want. So, yeah, I think that it's just the problem of the 99% versus the 1%, right?
And I think the problem Valve have with this is that if you do want to make an automated system in the game, you need to draw a line. And I think the reason they don't like that is that it kind of implies that MMR is the ultimate measure of skill. So that I can give you a great example. Let's say you made the system of in-house league. Congratulations, you are a top 2000 immortal. You are now in the in-house league part of the bracket. There are rank 3K immortals that are better than rank 1500 immortals at many things in the game. And sometimes you would rather play with one of them than one of the others, depending on what role they play, what hero they play, and how the game is going in general. It's very different what people are good at. So if you have to just flat out draw a line and say, this is the top bracket, I think Valve is very hesitant to do that, because it sets a precedent for what is considered the best. And I don't think they like doing that. And that's hard to do. So I think they'd way rather have this like fluent system where they can pull people in and out as long as the average game is high quality. The problem is that it isn't. But they have made it. They've done it before. We've had really great weeks in the past. We had a time when months were great in a row, and then they had to shake it up. So I think, and I know that for a fact that they already make exceptions for very high MMR because their system doesn't work the whole way. You can't make one system that works for everybody. So they make some hard exceptions for the top bracket. And I just think they need to double down on that and make even harder exceptions. Just be like, we make 2 different systems. And then the top system is not necessarily an in-house league. And yes, sometimes it will pull in that rare occasion rank 2,000, 3,000 player or whatever, but they can still implement it in a better way than they have now. That's what I think they should do. About in-house leagues, I don't know if they can find an implementation that makes it like that. It's cool. Indirectly, we have a ladder, right? We have a ladder. A lot of the times it's the same players playing against each other by nature because we're not that many. So it is a bit in-house like. People are party queuing a lot. I don't know. I would love an in-house system. I would love it. Like no doubt about it. I love in-house leagues too.
It doesn't have to be merged.
How do you
rank.
make
that?
It?
Was just the idea. It could be a totally separate thing, but it's still in
so
the game
let's
itself.
Say you're Valve.
Right?
Let's say you're Valve. Who gets access?
I don't fucking
How do you decide?
Here's the thing, though. Like, yeah, there's these questions. That's fine. It's not gonna be a black and white thing. It's not gonna work right away. You have to expand upon it. You have to, test it out to see what works, what doesn't. Just the idea of in-house leagues, the concept, I think is really good for the top 1%. Personally.
Absolutely. I've loved every time we had an in-house league myself. But the problem with the in-house leagues is always the same. It's exciting in the start. We're playing for money. There are great players. People slowly lose a bit of interest. The queue time goes up. The league has to include worse players. And then the league dies because people are like, wow, now this is like pubs. So how do you make the system where
you don't think
the top
having
players
it inside a Dota makes any difference?
I think it does.
And having
I think
some
it helps.
stuff tied to it, whether it be MMR,
but
it's
it's
a separate MMR,
it's the same,
something like that.
It's the same problem. What players should have access? Like, and if you don't have an answer, I don't have it either. That's the problem. I think, how do you just decide? Do you make an exclusive top 200 league? Let's say you're top 200. You play a ranked solo game, you lose. Now you're out of the in-house league. Too bad. You lost a game.
If you're on a team that has been to a DPC event, you're in. That could be the first requirement. You could have other requirements on top of that, but that's easily, that should be no question, right?
That player base is too small.
Well, that's just the start, though, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm not saying I have all the answers. I
could see that.
I like the concept.
I like that as a base. Then it's like you're qualifying to play in-house. That's fair. Then probably you needed to make a prize money incentive too. So it's like it's part of the reward for being a DPC circuit player is that you also get to play in the in-house league because it's really great for content. It's great for content too. People love watching these games when they're good.
We can't spare any money from TI, Cinderin. There's no money to go around for this stuff. So
gotcha. Okay.
I think we should just bury the hatchet and say it's time to move on. So this one I found very interesting. So apparently China has set rules for young gamers.
Wait, you skipped over your own MMR, didn't you?
Oh, fuck. Oh, I forgot.
Do you not want to talk about this?
Okay, let's talk about my rank.
I think this is really funny, actually.
So I didn't skip it on purpose. I just forgot about it. Okay, so you remember the first time I calibrated for MMR? It was the first time that ranked became a thing. Okay, this was how many years ago is that? Is it 5 years ago? 6 years? I don't know. Yeah,
probably. Something like that. So 5 or 6.
The first time that ranked became a thing, I calibrated. I got 4.7K MMR, and I basically never played ranked again. And I have not calibrated until now, essentially, maybe like a month ago, let's say. That's how many years is that? That's a lot of years in between. I've not played ranked. I've been an unranked Dota guy, okay? Now, to put this... how do I put this in? I've played Dota for how long? Like 15 years, let's say. Dota 2 and Dota 1 combined. Of course, part of that was Counter-Strike was my main game and Dota was my side one. It would flip-flop for a time there, but 15 years or so, let's say. Mm-hmm. Easily 90% of those games, it's much higher, I'm sure. 90+% of those games is played as a core. Okay?
Right.
I have now calibrated as core and support. For core, I got Ancient 1, which I think is like 4K MMR-ish. So I've lost 700 MMR in how many years? And I calibrated support, which I don't know how to play. And I got Ancient 5, and then 2 games later, I became Divine 1. What the fuck is going on, Cinderin? Am I a support player?
Can you boot Dota real quick?
You want me to boot? Why?
Yeah, I want to hear your MMRs on support and core.
Okay, I will open it right now. Nobody will see it though, but I'll say it out loud.
I want to see how different they are before I make my comment on this, because I think.
So how do I even check this? By the way, that's how noob I am. I don't know how to check MMR.
Did you boot Dota?
It's still loading, Cinderin. I have a very slow computer. Okay.
Right.
Now what? Go to my
click
profile.
On my profile. Yeah, and then you click on stats, and then it's in the top right corner.
Okay, so core is 3907.
Right.
Good God. Support is 4618.
Damn, that's a big difference. Okay, then it's not about that. Because I had this thought, what if the numbers are relatively close, but there's just like a discrepancy in support and core, right? With the same MMR could be higher in one. 700 is a big difference. I have a little bit of a theory here. Okay, for what could have happened.
I'm interested to see if you align with some of the tweets I got.
When you play very little, relatively, and you come back and you start playing, did you play all your calibration games in a row?
What do you mean
did you just play as in once you started calibrating, every Dota game you played was ranked?
Yeah, for the most part, yes.
For the most part. Because what can happen, first of all, there's a lot of variance, right? You can have some bad games. There could be people disconnecting or leaving, whatever it is.
That wasn't a thing.
Luck is a factor. But outside of that, on top of that, in the meantime, while you were calibrating, they've been mixing up the algorithm. So you could have had a good algorithm while you were playing support and a worse algorithm while you were playing core. Because you calibrated at a pretty unusual time, honestly, compared to most people. So you factor those things in, and then you consider you probably played support last. I would also guess. You mainly played the cores first, because that's your main thing.
That's correct.
So you gained some skill in the game in the meantime. You got some of it back. And then once you started playing support, you were a bit better than when you started out playing core. So,
but
your support MMR that you ended up calibrating is closer to your true MMR than your core one is, probably. So you probably didn't play as well in the core games either. And then there's the calibration luck and the randomness.
I appreciate your positivity, but I've kind of been splitting my time now between support and core. I fucking suck at core. What? I don't. That's the thing. I don't even think I suck at core, but I'm losing games. Like I'll play Pango. This is the thing that really, I shouldn't say it angers me. It annoys me. I feel like Pango is legitimately my best hero right now. I have less than a 50% win rate. I do not understand. I feel like I own with this hero, and I have less than 50% win rate. That is horrific.
How many games have you played of it?
Maybe let's check. It's funny because there's some heroes that I don't play that much. Like I've played Abaddon, let's say 60 times in my entire Dota 2 career. I have like a 75% win rate or something crazy with that hero. Pango, 113 games, 48.67% win rate. Garbage. Disgusting. Makes me sick to my stomach. So some people's theories were that I played core so much in my life. When I'm a support, I know what they want. But the thing is, when I say support, I don't play 5. I don't buy wards. I don't place wards. I play position 4. I roam. I actually enjoy it because I'm not buying wards and all that garbage. I like the heroes that play those positions. We got, even though I'm terrible with Mirana, I play her. Bounty Hunter, by the way, is like the coolest hero in the game right now, other than Pango, because you can play him in basically any position. I'm really enjoying the way that they made this hero. By the way, it sounds like I'm a big noob because I did take 6 months off and it feels like it's been a decade at this point. But yeah, I can't believe it's such a discrepancy. I was shocked when I first calibrated. But
well, I think
it is what it is.
So, from what I understand, do you remember how your calibration went? How many games you won and lost of each?
No. I mean, most of them I won with support, like 9 out of 10 probably.
As far as I know, when it comes to calibration, a good rule of thumb right now is that the games count twice, I think. Something along those lines, at least for active players. So I don't know for you, if you haven't played for months, if they have decay or something that they factor in. But let's say you go 0 and 10, then I think you lose 500. And if you go 10 and 0, you gain 500 on average. If we say it's double, right? Then every game counts 50 on average. So if you went 9 and 1 on support, there's a good chance you gained a few hundred support MMR. You might have gained literally 400. And if you went 1 and 9 on core or 2 and 8, you might have lost 200 or 300.
You're saying I went on a lucky streak and an unlucky streak, respectively.
that can happen. Not only lucky or unlucky, you could have also just had a couple of bad games on core. It happens, even if you're a core player and you play some bad games, or you're like, I'm the best penguin in the world, and then evidently you're not, then you lose more than half your games. Then, I mean, it's real. I mean, it's right there, right?
need
If you look
someone
up the
to
numbers, that might be
backseat
what
me.
happened, honestly.
You need to backseat me sometime while I play Pango. I need to know what I'm doing wrong because
I'm not a Pango player, so
well,
I can probably.
Apparently,
still
I'm
tell
not
you.
either. So I'm sure any advice would be helpful.
It's there was something you said too that I think might factor in more than you think. It's something I've noticed in myself when I play as well. Is that you said you're having a lot of fun playing 4, and I think it helps you have more of a positive mindset and look for better plays in the game. If you just go in and you're like excited to play, you're like, this is fucking fun. This is something different. Spicing things up sometimes can be super useful. And
I
for
like
me, if I'm
playing
spamming
offlane
the same
and safe
hero,
lane too.
if you play the same hero like 10 games in a row, some people love that shit. They
No,
are
I
like,
can't do
oh
that.
man, this is my new favorite hero. I will play this hero every game. And that's not me. So I kind of want to spice it up. I want variety. I play something else that I suddenly find exciting, and then that's fun, and then it'll impact my games. Maybe that played a role too. I oftentimes find myself playing really well, playing a hero I haven't played for 2 years, because then I'm like really focused, right? It's like, okay, gonna do this, gonna do that. You think about some things that maybe you don't usually do. You concentrate that little bit extra because you really need to be in the zone when you're playing this hero, because a lot of the stuff isn't automated anymore. It doesn't come to you as naturally. It might sound weird, but I really feel like that does happen sometimes.
I feel
Just
like
picking something off-brand can
a
make
really
you have a great
shitty
game
version.
sometimes.
I'm a really shitty version of Weehaw because I wish the laning stage didn't exist so I could just play Dota. That's why position 4 feels nice to me. Because I harass a bit in
Perfect for
lane,
you then.
and then I roam, and then I don't need to worry about the fucking laning stage. I just get a couple items, and I'm actually good at the game.
Would it hurt you a lot to admit that you might just be better at it?
At position 4?
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it makes perfect sense that you would enjoy that. When you think about the type of heroes you play in the offlane, you play the cores that initiate, that do shit, like Pango, Centaur, these like go-at-you frontliners.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, the 4s are the ones making the plays that you want to make. I don't think that's weird.
I'm not saying maybe I'm better at the 4 right now. I don't think it's that big of a discrepancy. That's huge. Like, I'm not fucking garbage at safe lane, for God's sake. I'm not garbage at off lane. I'm garbage at mid lane, though. That's why I don't play it.
Then play a few hundred games and you'll get back. That's
all right. Let's talk about China, Cinderin.
Yeah.
Let's really excited about this conversation. So China sets rules for young gamers. They are no longer allowed to play for more than 90 minutes a day or spend more than $57 a month on, I assume, video game related stuff like in-game purchases.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been a lot of talk. I don't know how hard this is going to be enforced. I don't think all the details have been released, but let's just assume certain things and talk about the ramifications it may have. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say this is actually a thing that will be enforced pretty heavily, and there's not much wiggle room. This is pretty big news. How does this affect?
Yes.
Like, obviously, it won't affect I think it's 18 or under, I want to say, or 17 and under. It's not like it's for adults,
there was an age limit.
Right?
There was something with it. Yeah, exactly. I think it was below 18.
So it'll essentially kind of, I was going to say hamstring. That's not the right word. It'll kind of stunt the growth of a lot of these youngsters that potentially could be the next prodigies, right?
Yep.
What do you think about this? This is a very interesting conversation, I feel like.
I mean, if this gets enforced this way so that anyone sub 18 can't play more than 90 minutes a day, there will be no talent that is below 18. You cannot get good at Dota by playing 1.5 hours a day. It's not possible. You might even end up in a techies game and get banned. So it's not...
True.
Or some sort of Arc Warden sniper,
and it's a techies game.
Arc Warden sniper game that goes beyond 90, and you just have to abandon it. Like, if this actually gets implemented and is, I mean, I fundamentally completely disagree with this, right?
Oh, of course, that's without saying.
So I think, as with probably what they're trying to do with this, whatever politicians or whatnot are implementing this, is they're trying to combat a problem that they associate with maybe gambling, right? Because I believe China also has pretty regulated, quite strong regulation in regards to that. I'm not 100% sure on this, but it would make sense, right? I believe part of the reason that the odds were even introduced on Dota chests was China, right? Am I wrong here? Wasn't that because back
The
in the day we couldn't see
odds-
the chance of getting items in the chests, and I think China was part of the reason that Valve changed it and had to
I
start
know
showing it. There was pressure from China
it
for
was
sure.
one country at least. I know some of them in Scandinavia as well. Actually, I forget who. Maybe it was
Okay.
somewhere in Europe, but China might have been the big one that started the domino effect, possibly.
Either way, I'm almost certain that China forced Valve to actually make different chests for them at first. I think early on, Valve had the Western chests, and then they had the same chest in China, but with odds showing. And then I think countries like the Netherlands enforced by law that if you're opening loot boxes, it has to show the chance of getting items and which one you're getting or whatever it is. So the point here is, it seems like the politics here are around striking down on maybe gambling or betting or whatever, and they're trying to combat young people getting into bad habits. That's what it sounds like to me when I see this. You can't spend more than X money, so it's like a financial safety, and you can't spend more than X time, which is a safety against basically considering gaming abuse. That's what it sounds like to me here. That they feel like if young people who can't yet truly make decisions for themselves and don't have the power to do it, similar to with like voting or whatever it would be, driving, it's kind of stuff that we would usually put an age gap on. Alcohol, they seem to be putting gaming in the same box, where this is something that is addictive, that you can't control yourself, and that can have a negative impact on your life. And I just obviously am on the other side of the fence, where I have the positive outlook, where I think gaming can be really great for, it's a lifestyle, it's great for socialization in some ways. Like people are like, but then you don't go outside. But a lot of people meet friends online and
that's
share
the thing,
people with friends online and stuff, right?
I mean, it just comes down to ignorance, right? Like the older generation,
Yeah.
a lot of which, especially if
really
they're
what
in
it feels
power,
like.
they just have no idea how this works. I mean, you just brought up the amazing example. Like my parents weren't, I wouldn't say they were super, like they let me do stuff, like they just let me game all day, but they didn't like it, right? But
Right.
at the end of the day, I literally have a social life, or I should say I'm actually able to talk to people because of online gaming. I
Mhm.
was a super introvert. I was antisocial. Maybe I still am to a degree. I mean, it's just, that's just how it is sometimes with each individual person. But I think it just comes down to ignorance. It's kind of unbelievable that we're still dealing with this, although this is a different country entirely, but it just feels like it's the Stone Age in some respects,
Yeah.
So hopefully this is not something that becomes a thing long term, because you never, like, they have this credit system as well. So I think they definitely can enforce it if they really want to. That's the scary part.
The thing I'm wondering is what prompted this, because
Yeah.
like developments like this, you would think this is something that I would find way more believable 10 or 20 years ago than now. So why is it going in this direction now? Because the ignorance wasn't less there 10 years ago. I think, if anything, the stereotype about what gamers are and what video gaming is has got better over time. It's got better because there's more education about it. It gets more attention that is more accurate, where the fucking stereotype 10 years ago, oh, you're a pro video game player, you sit in your mom's basement and drink Coke all day. Like, we're kind of getting
the violence from
away
video
from
games,
that state.
right?
Yeah,
Even
violence. Yeah, great.
America
it's getting
has
better,
kind of
but
taken a back seat on that for a couple years. But it's weird.
I think it's fair to say that over time it gets better and better. So why is this happening now? And I feel like I'm just lacking some information here. I feel like there's something bigger at play that we don't know about, and we just see this headline, right? There has to be something going on here.
We should have Jack on the show sometime.
Yeah,
I would love
maybe
to have
Jack
Korean
could tell us
barbecue.
about this. That would actually be interesting, because
That would be a
I don't
great
know.
guest.
Honestly, to me, this is surprising, and for a lot of people, there's a lot of. It's not unfair, but there's obviously a lot of targeting of China right now in world discussions of any kind, politics, gaming, whatever it is. This still surprised me. I think this is surprising genuinely, especially because China has a huge China.
That would be a great
China has a
country
huge.
name. I want to visit.
China has a huge market in gaming. It's a fucking massive industry. It's so big over there.
Yeah.
Why? Who has an interest? Is this lobbyism? non-gaming companies that are like, gaming is getting too big of a market. Has somebody lobbied in China to attack gaming because it harms their own business? Like maybe it's something as simple as that, you know? Maybe it's the other parts of the entertainment industry in China that have, you know, struck a deal here, that are like maybe the movie creators or the music or whatever it is that are maybe indirectly competing here. I don't know. It's just, there's no logic here. I don't see how, when you look at how much money it makes in China, how much it's on the way up, how many incredible international pieces of talent they have in multiple games. They're insane in League. They're really fucking great in Dota. I think even Counter-Strike is on the way up in China, where they're starting to have these teams that can compete on the world stage. So why are you starting to stifle this when it's actually good? There has to be some sort of behind the scenes business interests at play here. I don't see it being anything else. I don't know if you can just chalk it up to ignorance, because again, why now then? Why not 10 years ago?
No, that's, well,
putting restrictions on this.
maybe the people in power weren't in power back then. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. We're speculating a lot. We're assuming the worst, but this is a ridiculous headline. And it's got at least some.
And we should remember that it's just a headline from the New York Times, and that does not mean that all the facets and all the flavor is there for what's going on. But without TLDR, it sucks and it shouldn't be there, and we hate it. So
yeah. All right, I want to talk about this one. I'm going to get a little angry about, guys. Just an FYI.
This one made me laugh.
All right. So Polygon, which is a site I actually use a lot. I think they have overall, I mean, some of it's garbage, let's be real. That's a lot, the same for a lot of these websites. But I keep up with, the tech news and the gaming news through sites like this. I saw that they had a list of the top 100 games of the last decade. Of course, for those that you don't know, decade means 10 years. So 10 years ago, what games are the best? Let's go over the notable games, Cinder. We can go one by one if you'd like. So number 86, the 86th best game in the last 10 years, Kim Kardashian Hollywood. It's a mobile game. What do you think? What do you think about this, buddy? Do you like it?
I love
you like
it.
Playing?
I played it. I play 5 hours a day. I'm actually addicted to this game.
Okay. Glad to hear it. Let's skip ahead a little bit. At number 47, Dota Auto Chess. I think that's reasonable.
Nice.
It's a newer thing,
Impressive that they've dug into Dota Auto Chess. I wonder where Dota's going to place them.
Yeah, we'll get down to the list. It's fine. So God of War 38. I think that's fair. That's a really good game. Amazing game.
Yep.
Portal 2, very iconic. 28, rank 28. Excellent game.
Sure.
Rocket League, number 23. It's very popular in North America. I think this is probably pretty fair, actually, because it's of its own genre almost. Nobody else really competes with it. Number 23, I'm fine with that.
So far, I'm not mad at anything, including Kim Kardashian. Okay, maybe not.
CSGO, 21. I think this is a bit low for probably the best FPS of all time. Let's be real. Although maybe we can go on a rant about how CSGO is actually worse than the other Counter-Strikes. But regardless, it's very popular. 21, a little low. Overwatch number 19. Are you fucking kidding me? You put Overwatch over CSGO? What a shit fucking game. This game is so bad. How is this on top 20? How is this top 40? It's a complete fucking financial disaster. Just because people are investing money doesn't make it a good game. This game is shit.
Okay.
That's number 19.
I know you're getting upset here. Let's try to keep a cool head.
All right. Sorry.
Is it fair that Overwatch is above Kim Kardashian Hollywood?
Yes, that I'm fine with.
Okay.
They did a good job making sure that Overwatch is a higher rank than Kim Kardashian Hollywood. Next, we have PUBG at number 11. This is an interesting one because, and I'm not sure how to feel about it, because it did start this revolution, right? If you want to call it that, for this genre, the Battle Royale. I think it was way too short-lived to be 11th, though. I feel like, not that it's not going on anymore, but when it first came out, it was a huge deal for, I want to say, like 1 month. And then people realized that it ran like garbage. It was not optimized at all. They couldn't handle the amount of people. They just had so many issues. But 11th, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I still think CSGO, I mean, I'm biased in that regard. What do you think? Let's just talk about this one briefly. PUBG at number 11.
I've never played it, so I can't tell you how good it is. But I don't know. It also really depends what their criteria are, right? Like
Right.
what do they consider? Is it the best game? Is it the most influential game? Is it the one that's funniest to play, or the one that offers, there can be a really, really fucking good game that's
course.
not famous, right?
Yeah.
Like you could go out of you could put a game in the top 5 for you personally of best games of the last decade that 90% of people have never even heard about.
Right.
And that's just your opinion, right? So if somebody thinks PUBG was a really great game, like I said, I haven't played it. It wouldn't surprise me that PUBG was a really good game, but the engine was just shit, so they lost their players. But that the core idea, the implementation, and all this stuff was good, but it just got way more popular than it was ready for. Like they didn't have the infrastructure. They didn't think it was going to be this million smash hit that suddenly had like X million players at once when they were ready for, I don't know, maybe a couple 100,000. That server capacity is something.
Right.
Running a big game is not as easy as you might think. So
I mean, I've made a lot of tier lists. Criteria is important. I definitely agree with that. That's why you give leeway to certain ranks here and there. That's why PUBG, I'm not saying it's totally wrong. I definitely wouldn't have put it 11th just because of all the issues that it's had. But I can understand if you look at it
depending on what you focus on, I could see it.
Right.
I could see it on 11.
Next, we have Fortnite at 10. I'm actually surprised it was so low.
That's lower than I thought. Yeah.
I thought it would be top 5 for sure. League of Legends is 6th on the list. I think that's fair as well. Let's go over the top 5. Number 5 is Pokemon Go.
This is where the criteria really come into play. Because for me, this game is actually iconic.
It is.
In what it did.
Yes.
It
but it
basically
didn't last very long, right?
It didn't last very long. But for the month that it came out and was really popular, this actually changed.
Mainstream. Yeah.
It changed the infrastructure of the city I lived in, basically. You would
Really?
no joke. So I was living close to the second biggest city in Denmark at the time. And when you would go to the city on weekends to play Pokemon Go, there was so much life. It was incredible. Like there were so many people coming out to go to the park, to be at the museums, to just hang out and be there and talk about Pokemon. The amount of people that were in the streets, young people between 15 and 25, like exploded. It was crazy how much more life there was in the streets. And you immediately, with like satellite view, if you just did a recording of that month, you could tell when Pokemon Go was fading. It was actually crazy.
That's pretty cool.
So to me, that was a really it was really spectacular. Unfortunately, similar to what it sounds like with PUBG, I think the game just wasn't ready for the scale that it got. Like it didn't have enough longevity. There wasn't enough to do. The fad quickly died away. There's still plenty of people that play Pokemon Go, obviously. But if it could have maintained the numbers that it did in the start, it would have been a fucking phenomenon. Like that would have been insane if it could have kept that for just half a year or whatever. But the timing of the release was incredible for Denmark, right? It was around the summertime, which was obviously planned. They released it around Western summertime. I think it was it in May or June or something? I remember the weather being really good when we were out playing it. So yeah, honestly, awesome. I'm not mad at this being top 5 just because of the splash that it made. And again, it depends on your criteria, right? Because Pokemon Go is not a better game than CSGO, okay? It just isn't. It isn't a better game. It doesn't have more depth. But the way it like impacted life for some people and the way it caters to different players and got people active and going outside, I think is pretty fucking cool. And it was a really cool proof of concept of what perhaps future mobile games could draw on with getting out into the real world and doing something out there that interacts with the game. They did that better than any game had before. I think it drew largely on a game called, was it called Ingest or something? A game that had a similar technology based on GPS where you would go out and conquer areas with manpower. Like you would basically own parts of the world by having been there or something. I think they used part of that algorithm to determine where Pokemon would be. Ingress was what it was called, right? Ingress. But that was not nearly as popular.
Just to be clear, the criteria, I don't know how specific they get, but it essentially says Polygon picks their favorite games of the past 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Which is even more subjective than a normal criteria list, right?
Yeah.
So let's move on.
Basically, we do whatever we want.
So number 4 is Kentucky Route Zero. Have you ever heard of this
Kentucky Fried what?
I've literally never heard of this game.
Do you make chicken in it?
I guess. Number 3, another game I have never heard of. Maybe you have. Spelunky.
I have heard of this.
Have you played it?
I've not played it, but I've actually considered it, and I've heard it should be something special. Again, does this deserve to be top 3 for the last decade? Hard to say. I haven't played it, but supposedly it's not a big title because it doesn't have, like, it's more of an indie game as far as I know. It's not. It's what's this genre called?
Garbage.
But
Just
no, within the genre, I believe this is a really good game. So if you're into that kind of game, I could see it being. It is. Is it just a platformer? Someone says
I'm not gonna shit on games I have zero knowledge of other than Kim Kardashian Hollywood.
Oh, it's a roguelike. There it is. Yes, it's a roguelike.
All right, number 2.
Yeah, fair enough.
Number 2, we have Breath of the Wild, very popular game, Zelda. I believe it's for the Switch and probably other stuff.
Amazing game the first time you played. Holy shit, I loved this game. I think the one downside it has, which for me is a shame, but a lot of games are like this, is that the replayability for me just isn't really there. But the first time playing through this game, this was the best game of the year for me when I played it. When did it come out? 2 or 3 years ago? Fuck, man, this game's good. I'm totally fine with this being this high. As a single player game, it may be the best game of the last decade. But again, it depends what you're focusing on. If it's
God of War,
that first playthrough, if it's that, like, the first experience of playing through a game and the universe, or if it's being able to sink in hundreds of hours, or whatever your criteria are. This game is really, really good. The first time, I loved it. I had so much fun with it. I don't remember how long I played my first save file. Maybe I played like 80 hours on my first character, and then in total since then I've played less than 10. So it's a one-time thing for me that was really special. And then, but yeah, loved
just
that
like
game.
your virginity.
That was super good.
Lost and it's gone forever. So the number 1 game of the last decade, which actually was not a surprise to me at all, was Dota 2. Just fucking kidding. It's Minecraft, which was not a surprise at all. Minecraft number 1, massive game. Extremely unique, like everything about it. I've never played it. It's not my personal style. I don't like it, but I have no problem with this being number 1. Honestly, zero problem with it.
Yeah,
but
again,
yes,
yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say, but that means that as you may have noticed, Dota is not on the top 100 list of the past decade. How do you feel about that, Cinderin? Okay, so before I get your thoughts. So there's one thing to have a criteria. That's fine. Like I said, I've done a bunch of tier lists in the past. People get mad about stuff because they don't understand what the criteria actually was, because it just depends on your perspective. I'm sorry. I don't care what the fuck your perspective is. If you make a list of the top 100 games for whatever criteria, if Dota 2 is not on it, you fucking suck at your job. Plain and simple. Like, you can argue what number it should be. Dota Auto Chess is 47. It's a mod within this game that is hugely successful, has changed the entire landscape of esports in general by having the highest prize pools every fucking year. How is this not on your top 100 list? Goddamn ridiculous. Stupid. And Artifact should be there too.
I was thinking for a second.
Just kidding.
I was thinking for a second if the reason they didn't put it on the top 100 of the last decade is that they're like, well, Dota is older than the last decade because Dota is from Warcraft 3, which is from before 2010. But that
CSGO
gets killed immediately by the fact that CSGO is on there, right?
Yeah. Because
Counter-Strike was also a mod in a different game in Half-Life. So that argument's out there. Honestly, I don't know what the fuck's going on here. Like, for me, Kim Kardashian Hollywood, it is great, but it does not offer me the same replayability as Dota 2 does. It really doesn't.
Like, here's the thing, though. Like, I can understand that nobody on this staff plays Dota 2. I'm okay with that. I understand how this works, but you can leave this off the list. The only thing I can think of was that it was an oversight. They were looking over the list, and they saw Dota Auto Chess, and they just assumed it was Dota 2. I'm like, that's the only thing I can think of. That's still stupid, but
that is honestly
ridiculous.
Not out of the. I don't know, but I can't really explain it. Every time if you were given this task, all right, let's say you were the one person who was given the task of rating your top 100 games from the last decade. 100 games is a lot of games. That's a lot of video games to play, to test, and to try out. I don't know how many people they were writing this list, but for none of them to have played Dota 2, and that can't even be the case because they have Dota Auto Chess, right? Maybe they tried Dota 2, but they didn't even put it on the top 100 because there was no tutorial. They just didn't understand the game. and then they just went and played auto chess.
Mm.
I don't know. Like, obviously, based on player base, based on complexity and the depth of the game, we don't need to justify that this game should be on this list. I'm just trying to understand why it isn't. And the only things that come to mind are either they made a mistake and forgot it, 2, the auto chess thing that you just said, or 3, that there's some sort of sponsorship involved here. Like, a lot of the time when prizes are handed out, right? A lot of the times when people get prizes or awards, they paid for them.
You know what would be the pettiest thing ever? You know how League prevents their pro players from streaming other games like Dota?
Mm-hmm.
What if League's like, hey, you can't put us on your top 100 list unless Dota 2 is not on it?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean by sponsorship. Like, maybe, like, I know it's... But Overwatch is still on there, but still, like, there's no... Han isn't on there either, right? Last decade, Han not top 100, really? Like, Han, think about it.
What year was that? 10 years? Is it when it came out?
Isn't it from 2010?
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that. Han 100% should be on this list as well.
This should be on the list too, right?
That was a really fucking
only League is on there, and they're up really high. That is interesting. Well, okay.
Conspiracy theories. I like it. Beautiful.
Again, they didn't say their criteria, so you can't really... I don't know. You can't talk about it too much. You can be like, it makes sense that a lot of these games are on there, and there are some games that should be on there too, clearly.
All right, let's move on because we are going over time. Maybe we should skip a topic. And we can talk about this real quick. So won't go too into specific, but there's a YouTuber named Markiplier. If you haven't heard of him. He, again, I'm just going based off of memory here. He did I believe, a YouTube stream. And a bunch of people were posting emotes, and they were banned for using these emotes. I don't know the story behind the emotes and whether they're actually offensive or not. I assume not.
I know a bit more here, actually.
Okay, please.
So let me take this because I watched the video where he talks about it.
Okay, good.
So basically, he did a YouTube stream, and he did some sort of thing where the chat had an influence on what he was doing. So you give the chat the choice, like, should I go left, should I go right? And then in order to choose which path he should go, they could use the yay or nay emotes, similar to the ones we have on Twitch, where you literally just hold up a green or red flag. Now, some people would write a lot of yays in a row in one message, or a lot of nays in a row in one message. Just, people will do that because they're very excited or whatever. And they would suddenly get their account suspended. But it wasn't just YouTube. They would flat out get their fucking Google account banned. The reason this is a problem is you do something on YouTube that... It's an automated system, by the way. This wasn't manual bans. It was just the system detecting spam. And obviously YouTube, it's understandable. They have problems with spam. There's tons of bots that are trying to mislead people or whatnot to scam sites. But for the detection system to just ban out this random emote string that has there's nothing dangerous in it. There's no scripting or anything going on. It's just a string of emotes. Banning that from YouTube messages is one thing. You could be like, you were banning, you cannot chat on YouTube anymore. Then you can file an appeal and be like, hey man, come on, I was just writing emotes. That's one thing. It's like getting banned on Twitch. Your Google account is tied to a lot of stuff nowadays. Yes. It's not just whether you watch a stream on YouTube, it's access to your fucking email. These people can maybe not do business right now. They lost their business email, or they lost their university email, or their school email that they need to log into their university system so that they can get access to their files that they need to have their education. It's just not fucking okay. So it's really that simple. Like, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that is super scary because I use almost exclusively Google products. Like, obviously our YouTube channel, like you said, Gmail, Google Drive is literally all my files. If I didn't have that, I would probably cry. Like, I would have nothing. Apparently their accounts have been reinstated, but the thing that makes it interesting is the fact that all these people were complaining, and YouTube people said they couldn't do anything about it. They just have to, stick with the ban. It wasn't until Markiplier made a video that they changed their stance on this. That's pretty fucked up. That's really stupid. So hopefully that doesn't end up being a thing going forward, but that's very scary. And it actually reminds me of something, Synderen, if you want to finish before I change the topic slightly.
Yeah, so I think YouTube has got a lot of flack lately, not just for this. There's been like multiple incidents this year with their automated systems making mistakes. And I think it's still really important to remember that it's something a lot of companies are trying to do with like Google and Valve. They're trying to do this machine learning and having the system be self-regulating so that they don't need manpower for it, so it's cheaper. And that it's something that over time and over the next many years will get better and better, but it's still in its infancy, and there will be a lot of fucking problems and a lot of fucking errors. And the least thing you can do is to own up to it and be like, okay, our system can't solve every problem. We
Right.
still need people. Like, it's fine that you have this utopia where you don't even need people monitoring the computer anymore, but you're not there yet. Like, these systems cannot handle all the intricacies of language or all the intricacies of behavior. It doesn't understand it yet. And one of the other things, I can quickly mention this about YouTube that they did lately that they got a lot of flack for too, is that somebody did basically a huge data mining where they uploaded videos with different titles. And they made this like long list of blacklisted words where if you had this word in the title of your video, it couldn't be monetized.
Mm.
And one of them was gay or homosexual. So if you're a gay person that was uploading a video to talk about gay rights or your community or whatever it is, you couldn't monetize it. That's really fucked up. And the reason supposedly that wasn't monetizable was that the way the machines and the algorithm gets trained is by people from around the world telling it what is right and what is wrong. So what if a lot of the people that are employed by YouTube to monitor and test and train this algorithm are from countries where homosexuality is not legal? Because they're cheaper labor. It's cheaper to get people from third world countries that maybe aren't as far on gay rights. And now suddenly you have an algorithm that is telling people that being gay is bad. That's a fucking problem, okay? Like, that's, putting it mildly, that is a huge problem. So
I mean, YouTube have
there's
had
this huge disconnect where YouTube is catering and is largely a Western source largely. It's obviously a huge Asian part, huge Western part. It's big all over the world. But if you have an algorithm that is being trained by what is basically a minority and they get to decide what is right and what's wrong, that's a problem.
Yeah,
you have to have this very multifaceted. You need to hire people from the countries where it fucking costs money to hire those people from, because it gives you a more broader and more accurate view and representation of what the system should be, because the system should represent the people that use it. And right now the way it at least was recently, it represents a very small sub part of people that use the system. So it's extremely misleading.
I mean, I can speak from my own experience in the YouTube realm. You know, I wouldn't say we get copyright stricken all the time. We get like monetization stricken, I guess you could call it, where they just don't monetize your video a lot. Like the one in particular that we got copyright struck that I was actually kind of pissed about. Remember that song I sang with the Artifact, the Long Haul song? We got copyright struck for that. I'm singing the song myself and we got copyright struck. That's fucking stupid.
I know.
But yeah, YouTube they've been going downhill for a long time, unfortunately. But this does remind me just quickly. I recently downloaded Warcraft 3, Cinderin, and I have a legit CD key, okay? And I didn't know how to get the game itself because I don't have the CD anymore. I just have the CD key. So I went and downloaded an ISO, okay, on a torrent site. And I install it. I use my actual CD key. I try logging in. I'm banned from BattleNet now. I didn't realize that you could go on Blizzard's site, BattleNet, and download the game itself. I didn't know that was a thing. So now I'm banned from BattleNet despite actually having a legit CD key. Isn't that fucking stupid? That is ridiculous.
I mean, that is stupid and funny at the same time.
I understand it's funny. I'm not crying or anything because it is just Warcraft 3, so not a big loss. Old ass game.
But I mean, yeah, obviously. The thing is, it's a bit. How do you solve that? Do you write to him and you're like, hey, so I own the game, but I don't physically have this CD anymore, and I didn't know that the game isn't that it's just available for download on your site if you have a key. Would you consider, I ended up downloading an ISO and using my real CD key, and therefore it got banned.
Right.
I don't know. It's a bit weird, I guess.
I'm sure they have it all of 2 people working on that game. Although they are coming out with Reforged, so I guess they would have a few more.
But you're only banned. Do you use any other Blizzard games? You're only banned in Warcraft 3. Or did they actually ban you from Blizzard?
I think it's just Warcraft 3, although I have not technically... I mean, I don't play any other Blizzard games anymore, so I wouldn't know technically. I could check out and let you guys know. If I'm banned from Hearthstone, for example, I'm going to be talking about it next episode.
If you're banned from BattleNet games, that's pretty annoying.
It's probably not going to... I doubt it. If that's the
Yeah,
case, then. Oh no, I can't play Heroes of the Storm anymore, guys. Oh shit.
No,
Oh, no.
no.
Okay, so you wanted to finish the episode with something real quick?
Yeah, so the League of Legends World Finals should get a mention as well, now that it's the 6th best game in the world, and Dota isn't even top 100. So we definitely need to use a big part of this on League of Legends now. So League of Legends Worlds took place. I believe the finals was this Sunday, so 2 days ago. There was a lot of hype build up around it because there was once again a Western team in the finals, and they got fucking destroyed. So it was not really that exciting. From what I understand, they just got run over 3-0. Kind of similar to the finals of the minor, actually, where IG kind of just destroyed Chaos and wiped the floor with them.
I don't keep track of this stuff, Cinder, in League at all. Like, I haven't watched games or anything.
Mhm.
I feel like this is a yearly thing that we talk about, generally. Like, oh, it's a 3-0 stomp. Does this happen a lot? Sounds like it does. Or maybe it's just me remembering that over.
Yeah, I mean, it's been twice in a row, I think.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact history of it. I think what I know for a fact is that generally China and Korea are considered the strongest regions on the world scene. So the fact that a European team in G2 got to the finals was already great, and they're already proud of that. But obviously they would have liked to win or at least look better. But they just, the way it sounded, they just didn't perform. Like, it wasn't that the other team played insanely well. It was just as much that they had a poor showing. So that's always a shame, right? Like, no matter who wins, you want the teams to play their best because that's what's entertaining to see. So, but yeah, I don't know enough about the game anymore and the intricacies to really tell you how much of it is true. I didn't watch them. I just tabbed in, saw one team be ahead by like 4K goal, and I was like, okay, well, this is over.
4K? That's a stomp?
Yeah, they were up like 4K minute 20. That's a huge stomp in League.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The gold works very differently there.
I see. Okay.
Much smaller leads are much bigger.
All right, so that brings us to the end of the episode. For people that haven't watched, we usually do something fun at the end, which we had real struggle coming up with, Cinderin, but we came up with this. What fruits do you love and hate, Cinderin?
I love our transitions to the fun segments because they're always so unrelated. There's like nothing in fucking common.
Speaking of League of Legends being the 6th best game in the last decade, what fruit do you love and hate, Cinderin?
Okay, so we did a top 5 we like,
yes,
and a bottom 3 we dislike. I did not put mine in perfect order, by the way. I will just say my 5 favorite fruits and my least 3 favorite. Okay, do I go first?
I don't know. How do you want to do this? You came up with this.
Okay.
It's your rules.
I can tell you the absolute worst easily, so that one I can rate. But okay let's do. I can actually rate my bottom 3. All right, I'll do my good ones first, and then you do your good ones. Okay. 5 best fruits, and unlike Polygon, we have criteria here. It's the best fruit to eat by itself. It's not as an ingredient. It's not, because then tomato for me would be really high, right? Because I fucking love food that has tomato in it. But by itself, tomatoes are good, but they're not top 5 fruit. Okay. Pineapple, strawberry, banana, watermelon, and cherries were my top 5.
We're going to have an interesting conversation in just a couple minutes, my friend.
All right. You go.
So my top 5 in no particular order. Actually, let's do this in a particular order. Number 5 is strawberries. Number 4 is cherries. Number 3 is kiwi. I
Also
love kiwi. Number 2 is pineapple, and number 1 is mango. You cannot get fruit better than a fresh mango.
Mango's
unbelievable
really
fruit. Really good.
Yeah.
All right.
Honestly, it's really, like, when I looked at all the fruits that were listed, I was like, man, there's so many that are really good. Like,
yeah, for
me, like, choosing this top 5, there's so many that are like tied or very close.
I haven't had a fruit in so long. It's just, I'm really craving
all of the ones you mentioned. I love all of them. We had 3 in common, right? We had cherries, banana, and strawberry. Or no, so cherries, pineapple, and strawberry.
Cherry,
right?
pineapple, strawberry. Yeah. So mango,
we both
kiwi
had those top 5. So that's very similar, actually, considering how big the roster is.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Right.
Okay, bottom 3.
Talk some shit, too. Talk some shit about these things.
I will. The apps, okay, I'll do them in reverse order. So the worst one last. Okay. Because I had a hard time choosing 3 because there were only 2 that I wholeheartedly believed should be here. But the third worst for me was coconut meat. And it was simply by necessity of having a third. It's not that I dislike it. It's just not as interesting. Did you say
coconut meat?
Yes.
Is that a thing?
Was one
what
of
does
them.
that mean?
That was one of the fruits.
Why would you say meat?
Because coconut also has juice inside. If you break open a coconut, it has juice in the center, and then it has the flesh or the meat, right? By itself, just eating, it's not that interesting.
Do people actually say that?
It wasn't coconut on the list. Was it called coconut meat? Okay, I'm gonna look it up again. It says coconut meat on the list. There's the juice. Okay, have you ever broken open a coconut before in your life?
No, but I've seen it.
Okay.
I understand
so
what you're saying.
Go
There's
outside
two,
on the
yeah,
concrete,
there's two
you fucking
different varieties.
smash it.
Sure. But
right.
Do you actually I've never heard anyone say coconut meat. That just sounds weird, but okay.
Okay, but that
Go
is
ahead.
what it is.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's the third worst. Second worst, easily olives.
Okay.
They're not good.
I don't like olives either. Yeah.
They're not good on their own. They're not good in stuff. They don't look appetizing. There's like actually nothing good about olive except the color. The color is kind of nice on paintings. So good job,
Black?
Olive, on that.
Okay.
No, the olive, not the black olives.
Oh,
the
the
olive
green
olives. Yeah,
Okay.
that's why the color is called olive. Right. It's named after
Continue.
the fruit.
There you go.
Okay. Finally, with absolutely no questions asked, the worst fruit in the world, absolute garbage fucking trash tier is grapefruit. It is so bad. It is not good for anything.
I like grapefruit.
It ruins
okay.
everything it's in. Okay.
That's
it's
interesting.
Just flat out terrible. I hate it.
That's so
it is
It
so
feels
bad.
like a very weird one to hate with that much passion, you know? Although you're going to say the same thing about my list because there's one I fucking cannot stand. Okay. Fair enough. I wouldn't say I love grapefruit. It's okay. I'm not going to like be disgusted by it, but I won't really go out to eat it either or go out of my way to eat it. So everybody already knows my least favorite, even though I really consider it a vegetable. I know that it's a fruit. I still consider tomatoes a vegetable. Everyone know that this is by far my least favorite, so I won't even have like a discussion about it. It is the most, and I love tomato sauce. I love ketchup. Ketchup's my favorite condiment. Tomatoes are just the most disgusting thing that anyone's ever concocted up.
It's so funny to me. But yeah,
okay, these other two, I don't hate them as much as tomatoes. Don't get me wrong. But they're easily my least two favorite, and I think at least one of them will shock you, Cinderin.
Okay, I'm ready.
And this is on taste
Good
alone.
BuzzFeed lead-in.
So
Great Polygon lead-in.
The first one is cantaloupe. I really dislike cantaloupe.
Really?
I think it's very...
We should probably preface this for people that don't know what this is. It's basically honey melon, right? That's what you call it in...
A melon. We just call
most
it melon.
Countries. Yeah.
Or cantaloupe.
I believe this is called honey melon in Danish. Honning melon. I'm pretty sure it's the exact same thing.
I'm not a fan.
Right. It's a type of melon.
It's just like... It tastes like almost nothing, except it tastes kind of bad. You know, it's not
rock
like
lemon.
Like if
some
I
people
eat
are calling
it,
it
I'm
rock
not gonna
lemon.
vomit.
I see. Okay. Or lemon.
And this
rock
other
melon.
one was on your top
That's
5
great,
list,
though.
Cinderin. I really can't stand it. I've always hated it. People always
watermelon?
love it.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I hate watermelon.
Watermelon bottom 3.
It tastes like dirty water to me. That's what it tastes like.
What?
It tastes like washed up, dirty water. I can't stand eating it. The seeds suck ass. You might as well just be drinking water. Why eat this piece of shit fruit? It's a pain in the ass to eat. It's a pain in the ass to cut into.
I don't know what's harder to believe between tomato and watermelon being bottom 3. It's both really weird.
Okay,
man, watermelon bottom 3. Holy shit! That's
Here's the thing, though. I understand.
Like,
I will admit when something I don't like is not normal. I think not liking watermelon is not normal at all. Most people love watermelon. I think that not liking tomato is semi-common. That's not that unusual, in my opinion. Uncooked raw tomato.
Yeah, I think
it's there's a decent
more
amount of people
common,
that don't like it.
I think you're right.
Watermelon is like universally loved.
Most people are at least fine with watermelon because it basically tastes watery and sweet, and most people can work with that. Tomato has a very distinct taste, actually. Yes. Even though it's also largely water, I would say it's different.
I should mention, even though cherry was on my top 5 list, but in terms of these fruits, kind of, as a flavor for drinks or whatever else the case may be, cherry, even like Pepto-Bismol, cherry is not even close. Number 1 by far. It's the best. Makes everything taste better. Cherry Coke.
Do you have a melon that you like? Because now 2 of your bottom 3 were melons.
Right. What other melons are there?
There are. I don't know what they're called then. Because
I like cucumbers.
Cantaloupe and watermelon. Let me see.
I do like cucumbers quite a bit. Salt and cucumber. Very good. And pickles. Oh, they're so good. Oh, pickles are good.
Honeydew melon? Oh, that's the one called honning melon. Sorry, I got it wrong. Honeydew melon. Cantaloupe is something else. My bad. It's rock melon, right?
Let me look this up, actually.
Honeydew melon.
Yeah, cantaloupe. Garbage. Okay, So that brings us to the end of the episode, Cinderin. Thanks again, as
So
always.
you didn't answer the question.
I don't want to answer any more questions. We've gone over time.
Okay.
Appreciate
Understood.
everybody.
Understood. You
Have
hate
you
Honeydew
watched-
Melon.
Have you watched In Bruges or Joker?
No.
Okay, excellent.
We're
Remember,
out of
guys,
time. I can't elaborate on that. Sorry, guys.
Thank God. I really want to hear the reasons why you haven't watched it. It's really not getting old at all. Remember, guys, you can watch this episode of We Say Things live every Tuesday at 1 a.m. PST, 10 CET, now that we've switched time zones finally, on twitch.tv/SUNSfan TV. And of course, if you missed it live, don't fret because it'll be uploaded to Dota Cinema's YouTube channel and it's available via audio on all audio apps. You can just go to sunsfan.gg/podcast, click on our podcast. There's a little button that says like other sources. It literally shows all of the podcast apps that are available. It's everything. I'm telling you, it's everything. If it's not, then just contact me. We're on Spotify. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, SUNSfan Cinderin signing out. Remember, we're doing a Reddit AMA later today, so check it out if you have time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah.